It's lovely to feel the sun's warming rays right here at the beginning of March. Now, we told you what we could be sowing in March week 1, but in today's video we shall give you 5 seeds that you could be sowing now in March week 2. Now, to start this video, I need to answer a question from one of our viewers. Gary, you asked us a question that why you couldn't save seed from F1 varieties. And I do see that question pop up quite a lot. F1s are bred for certain characteristics, and they will take those characteristics from other varieties, and then they breed them so that you get the variety that you want. It could be in the case of brassicas that they are club root resistance. There are certain carrots out there that seem to withstand carrot root fly better than others. But the problem is when you save the seed, when you go to sow it the following season, you just don't know what you're going to get. Because what will happen is that it will grow, and it might grow one of the other parent seeds strain, whereas with open pollinated seeds they tend to stay true to their characteristics. So when Mr. B or whoever comes along and pollinates those flowers and goes to the next one, it stays the same. You simply cannot guarantee it with an F1 variety. And that is why you don't save F1 seed varieties, unless of course you're into Heinz 57 and see what you get. We're going to start with some rainbow chard. I do like to multi-sow the rainbow chard, and if I can get 3 or 4 plants in a cell, that's really good. I don't need too much of it because actually it produces in abundance. The leaves will keep coming back and back again. So long as you never actually strip the plant of the leaves that it's producing, it'll keep producing. And we still haven't finished eating what we have in the greenhouse. No, we've been slowly picking the leaves. I use them mainly in salads, actually, the lovely little lush leaves. They're so shiny. It was actually really lovely in the salad when Andrew and Jackie came over, yes, wasn't it?
It
really,
was, yeah.
Really
Something
did enjoy
a little bit
that.
Different, nice little flavour.
Splash of colour.
And colour, yes, definitely, because we've got red and yellow varieties in that one, so that's good.
And then, as usual, you just cover those over with a bit of vermiculite. I've noticed just lately, Mrs. W, that quite a few other YouTubers are now using the vermiculite on the top.
Yes, yeah.
So
perhaps they've been watching us.
You never know, but it's a really good thing to do. It really is, because it's so light, and yeah, the seeds can break through nice and easily. And of course, most importantly, make sure it's labelled. And that's now ready to go into the water bath.
Next, I shall be sowing some herbs. Parsley and basil. Firstly, I'm going to sow the basil. I like to just tip the seeds into my palm of my hand and broadcast seeds. So just take a pinch and just broadcast the seeds over the top of the compost.
Basil's a really good companion plant for tomatoes, isn't it?
It really is, and it tastes lovely. I love basil. And I'm just going to top that with a little bit of vermiculite, as usual. Pop that label in. Basil piccolino, this is a different variety that we usually grow. It's a smaller leaf variety. And the parsley. Again, just tip the seeds. These are slightly bigger seeds than the basil. And you can see these better because they are lighter, so you can see more where you're broadcasting them, but just put a few seeds, just a pinch really. And this is a curly leaf variety. I like both varieties, to be honest, so that's good.
Next, I want to sow some mini gherkins. And I want to sow these for two reasons. The first is we've actually never grown them before. It's not something that I particularly eat. But apparently our children like a gherkin. They must have been to McDonald's, Mrs. W.
I'm sure they have multiple times.
So we are going to try and grow some gherkins, if only for them.
I like them though, and for me these are the little Cornichon gherkins, which I intend to pickle for myself. I have another variety of gherkin for the children for later.
So it says on the seed packet to sow on this side. It's something that I don't usually do, but because it says on the packet sow on the edge of the seed, and Mrs. W's told me I must do it, then I have done it on this occasion.
Thank you.
All of the cucurbit family, if you read the back of the seed packet, it tells you to sow it like this. But if you go back and look at some of our other videos, you'll see that I haven't bothered, and we've had lots of cucumbers and squash over the years.
We have. That's because I like to do as I'm told and you don't.
Really, Mrs. W. Some vermiculite on that. I mustn't forget the label. Cornichon de Paris, Mrs. W.
Oh, yes.
We're getting all international with our sowings. And then that can go into the water bath. Next, it's time to sow our tomatoes. And we have 3 or 4 different varieties that we need to sow. March week 2 is a good time to sow your tomatoes. You've got around about 8 weeks before they need to come into the poly or into the greenhouse, wherever you're growing them. But do remember, we are sowing tomatoes that will be being grown under cover. We still need to wait probably until the end of March, right at the beginning of April, before you sow your tomatoes that will go outside, because they can't really go outside until June, when hopefully the weather does display some kind of summer, and not like last year. We have rather a lot, so I think you're probably going to have to give me a hand to sow these. I'm going to start with the Sun Gold, so we'll stick that label in there.
They were the variety that gave us our first fruit last year, weren't they? And we were trialling them. They were lovely.
They certainly did.
And they're slightly orangey yellowy colour, so that's nice too.
And we're just going to try and spread the seeds about as much as I can so that they're not right on top of each other.
That will be good when we come to prick them out.
Yeah. Does help. It saves them getting tangled up and you sort of getting the roots all tangled.
Honeycomb is the next variety. There's not many seeds in this packet, so we want to make sure we get them all, because they're expensive seeds. They are an F1. 12 seeds it says on the packet, so as Mr. W did, just trying to broadcast them around individually in a way. And my absolute favourite, really, it's a childhood variety that my dad grew, my granddad grew it, and I just love it. It's a really lovely tomato, and that's the money maker. Got a lot of fruit from this. Really nice to slice into like a cheese and tomato sandwich, or just a tomato sandwich, to be honest. Love it.
And this is one tomato that you can save the seed from.
Yes, it is. So yes, childhood favourite, money maker.
Next variety is San Marzano. Really like this one, don't you, Mrs. W?
We do. It's really nice tomato to dry. If you like to dry your tomatoes, sun-dried tomatoes, oven-dried tomatoes. However, they have very few seeds in. They're a really good cooking tomato.
Yeah. You've also done these before where you've sort of put them into oil, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I've stored them in oil. Yes, yeah.
And preserved them that way, and they're really quite
And
nice, aren't they?
Yes, and I have oven-dried them and frozen them. I think that's possibly the favourite way for me to freeze them, and then just take them out of the freezer, add them into what you're doing. They defrost so quickly.
And then next I'm going to do the super sauce.
Oh, this was our big discovery of last year, wasn't it?
Oh yes, I want as many of these as I can possibly get, because they were absolutely amazing.
And again, another good cooking variety, good for like pasta sauces and those sorts of things, because there's not many seeds and a lot of tomato flesh. And lastly, but not leastly, the red cherry tomato. These are a super little tomato. They have lovely vines of little sweet, juicy bursts of sweetness. And our grandchildren love them as much as I do. So we need a lot of these. So these are another variety that you could save the seed from, which is good. That is 6 different varieties of tomatoes for this year, Mr. W. Can't wait. Hopefully you can just see the type of distribution of seeds that we have done. There's the moneymaker. You get a lot more seeds from the moneymaker. So I've done a few extras on those, but some of these packets only have 10 or 12 seeds in. So, and the red cherry again.
And then as usual, you just cover them with a bit of vermiculite. And all of those now can go into the water bath. Now do let us know in the comments what you've been sowing. You might be slightly ahead of us, you might be a bit behind us. None of this really matters. We just give you our best advice on when we sow and in zone 9A. But now we are in March, of course, most of us can sow most of the seeds that myself and Mrs. W have been sowing busily away since mid-January. You're starting to think that maybe you're a bit behind and what could you have sown? Then watch this video next. Have a great rest of your gardening week, and we shall see you very soon.